Hey Emma,
Yes, Madeline.
what do you call someone who's thoroughly average at stealthy roguery?
Gosh, I don't know.
The Sea of Thieves! Hello, and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
You'd guessed the punchline to that one, hadn't you?
No, I don't get it.
You don't get it?
No.
Are you playing dumb?
No, I really don't. Maybe I just didn't process the first part of it correctly.
They're thoroughly mediocre at stealthy roguery, stealthily being a rogue.
That's not what I heard you say. So that explains it. But I get it now.
We're off to a great start here at Talk This. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a great show for you this Sunday or whatever day of the week you are listening to this episode. Emma, tell the people what games we'll be talking about this week.
Well, one of them you might have already guessed in case you were paying attention to the joke, which I clearly was not. But we were talking about Sea of Thieves for our new game. And then for our old games, we were talking about the Nancy Drew Adventure series.
Nancy Drew. Oh, I could have done Nancy of Thieves. Dang it.
Too bad.
Ugh, I can't believe I missed that opportunity. I heard you saying Nancy Drew and I was like, Nancy? Nancy? So, maybe at the end of the episode, I'll have a closing joke.
Madeline goes through life just thinking of puns to 30 minutes too late.
You think that this is something to laugh about, but this is something that scars my life on a normal basis, a regular basis. So I am really, really excited for this episode. I'm so excited. I have so much to talk about.
Well, then we should get talking about it.
Okay, so let's talk Nancy Drew. So as Emma already said, the Nancy Drew series, there isn't any one game that's called Nancy Drew, is a series that was created by Her Interactive, which is a Washington-based game designer that pretty much only makes Nancy Drew games.
Pretty much.
As far as I can tell. But boy, have they made a lot of Nancy Drew games. It's 30 plus of them since 1998. That's a lot of Nancy Drew games. Relative, I guess, to the book series, it's not. I don't even know how many Nancy Drew books there are. But still, I was sort of surprised when I was looking into it because I kind of assumed that they would have stopped making the games much sooner than they did. I really kind of assumed that this is one of those kind of early 2000s games, and I'm sure that stopped, sometime around 2007 or whatever. But no, the most recent one came out in 2015. Apparently there's been a lot of turnover at Her Interactive since then, but they say that there's another one coming out spring 2019.
Yeah. You'll have to get it.
Nancy Drew is alive and well. Well, they have a whole bundle on Steam. It's $80. I don't have a PC though, but it's $80. You can get every single game.
Well, so a lot of the more recent ones seem to be PC and Mac.
Yes, so they've made a couple of remasters of the new ones are PC and Mac, and then they've remastered the first two games, and those are PC and Mac. So I was tempted. I was researching too close to the episode, but if I had been doing my research further away from when we were recording this, I might have actually bought the first game and tried to play some of it. Although they have on their website, the trailers, and I'll explain what the game's about in a minute, people, but come on, it's Nancy Drew. What do you think it's about? But they have these trailers on the Her Interactive website for each game. Oh man, the graphics have not aged well. At all. They even have one that's here's the 1998 version of Secrets Can Kill, which is the first one, if you didn't already know that. And here's our remastered version, which I think is not the recent. It's a remaster they still did in 2010, so it's not they just did it. But wow, the remaster looks a lot better, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good.
I mean, it's mostly text adventure, so Doesn't really have to look that great.
No, I know that. The characters that you talk to, though, are just so clunky and weird. It was so funny. And the reason it's funny, to me anyway, so first of all, let me explain what the game's about. Emma started to, and I always get made fun of for not actually talking about what the game's about. So here it is. Nancy Drew. It's a series of 30-plus games in which you play as classic female detective heroine, Nancy Drew. And you solve mysteries on various adventures across the world that you go on. They take place in all sorts of different places. Secrets Can Kill is just like in a kind of a high school kind of situation. That's the first one. But there's one that's in a museum, right? Scarlet Hand is in a museum, right?
Yeah, I think so.
There's one on a horse ranch. There's one on a train. There's one in like a fashion zone. There's one that takes place in the 1930s that's actually based on a Nancy Drew book. They take place in like mansions and hotels and pretty much any kind of setting you might think of. There's probably a Clue game, like a Clue spin-off that might have taken place here. There is a Nancy Drew game that has taken place there and then some. So yeah, they're not anything like, they're not Nancy Drew first-person shooter, although I bet you that would...
Although they are, actually.
Actually,
so.
One of them kind of is, isn't it? It's first person, so you never see Nancy, really, which is kind of great, because you can pretend that you're Nancy Drew.
Yes, I think that's the point, probably.
Yeah. But it's kind of, it's you walk around, you look for clues, you talk to people, you solve puzzles, point and click kind of thing. It's not anything, like, terribly exciting. Well, define exciting, but it's not anything terribly complicated gameplay-wise, except that sometimes the puzzles are freaking hard.
Yeah.
Do you remember the one where you had to, like, play a hangman with someone and have them write something?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, that was so ridiculous. It's like, let's play hangman, and you had to guess the exact correct letters to get them to write something that you needed them to have written. What kind of BS is that, Her Interactive?
The ones I mostly remember are the ones where you had to, like, do it fast. Like the aforementioned first-person shooter one, where someone's, like, coming at you and you have to, like, get the gun out of your purse and shoot them.
Yeah, so generally, at the end, I feel like that's something that almost always happens at just the... I feel like that's something that almost always happens generally at the end of the game. Like, once you've sort of figured out who the culprit is, there'll actually be some time pressure as to, like, you have to confront them. And I think that one was Scarlet Hand. Maybe?
No, it was the one with the aquarium. Maybe Deception Island.
Yeah.
I think.
So, as you might have surmised from this discussion so far, Emma and I have played a lot of these Nancy Drew games. Probably not in the last 10 years. Which is weird to think about. But I was going through, they have a list of all of the games on the website, and I think that I have played at least a dozen of them, maybe 15.
Yeah, I was looking and, like, trying to just remember which ones I'd played from the titles alone, and the amount that, like, the titles sounded familiar was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, I think that there are a few of the early, like, there's one that's, like, Mystery Mansion, like, it's Mansion, something, Haunted Mansion. And I was looking at it, I was like, this title is very familiar, but I can't remember anything from it, even watching the trailer. So I think that if it's every one where the title looks familiar, it's like 17 or 18 of them. I think more realistically, it's 12 to 15.
I think you're actually being a bit too overdramatic with that, because of the titles, like, I mean, I remember, like, 7.
Okay.
Which is still a lot, but I don't remember any from, like, post-2006.
No, but I think that almost all of those from before that, let me rattle off the titles. This is getting very Nancy Drew geeky here. Let me rattle off the titles of the ones that I have played, and Emma, you can count. Okay, definitely played Secrets Can Kill, the first one. I remember The Diner. Pretty sure I played Stay Tuned for Danger. That one's a little iffy. I think Haunted Mansion I didn't, but all 100% the one I remember probably more than most, Treasure in the Royal Tower.
I have no memory of Treasure in the Royal Tower.
You can, like, freeze to death. You're in this, like, snowy tower thing. So definitely played that one. The Final Scene, I think I've definitely played. Secret of the Scarlet Hand, definitely played. Ghost Dogs on Moon Lake, I definitely played some of, although it might have been too scary to finish. Did we have Haunted Carousel? That sounds really familiar, but I'm not sure I actually...
That one didn't sound familiar to me.
Okay. Danger on Deception Island, yes. Secret of the Shadow Ranch, yes. Curse of Blackmore Manor, yes. Secret of the Old Clock, yes. Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon, yes. Danger by Design, yes. Legend of the Crystal Skull, yes. I think that's 12.
I only remember 8.
So, yeah.
Although I was younger, so perhaps Mal either was playing before I have memories of them, or, yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking about this, and I was like, you know, usually when I'm talking about, like, what were the game series that really influenced my childhood, I'm like, okay, I played Kingdom Hearts, like, X-Men Legends, Crash Team Racing, those kinds of things, and I never list Nancy Drew, but I have played more Nancy Drew games than probably any other video game series, and I have no idea how long the runtime on these games is, right? Like, I could not tell you.
I don't think they were that long.
I know, but still, they played 12 of them, even if they were, like, what, like 15-hour games?
I think 15 hours is pushing it.
10-hour games? That's a lot of Nancy Drew time.
Yeah, I don't really know why we played so much, because I remember playing it a lot, but also remember not really enjoying playing it.
But you have to figure out what happens. Well, I know why I played a lot. So here we go, Madelyn's story time. Because I was remembering this and feeling like kind of oddly emotional about it before we recorded the episode. So I remember in 4th grade, my friends, Emily and Grace, also played the Nancy Drew series. And finding that out was the coolest thing that had ever happened to me. Because I had these other people that I could talk about these games with and who also played these games. And it was just like this foundational element of the friendship. And it's the first time that I can really remember kind of bonding with people over video games. You know, not just like literally like playing together with people, because I'm sure like we would play with cousins and neighbors and like whatever. But like literally like making friends, like partially based on our shared love of these games. Especially like, I don't know, calling it Her Interactive and whatever, and it being Nancy Drew, it's like, I get it. Like, it's marketed at the, whatever, 9-year-old girl that I was, right? And it's like a little bit corny. It's like Her Interactive. Well, why can't the boys, like, why is it Her Interactive? But still, for like mid-aughts, like, that's cool. It was cool that I had like elementary school girl friends who also liked these same video games as me. I still find it odd. Like, it's like weird. I find it weirdly heartwarming when I encounter people who play the same video games as I do, because I still think of video games as being like kind of a niche thing, even though I know that they are not. Right? Yeah. I know that everyone plays video games and has played video games and has sentimental attachments to video games, and it wouldn't be that unusual for it to be the same games as me, because I'm not that indie of a gamer, and I certainly wasn't as a child. Yeah. But I still like feel a little bit surprised, and my heart is strangely warmed when I encounter people that play the same games. Like, I remember in high school when I found out a bunch of the boys in choir with me also played Age of Mythology. That was tremendously cool. Like, that like, made me, like, a bro. And not that that's something to aspire to and whatever, like, we can get into the whole gender politics of that, but it made me, like, sort of part of the group in a way that was cool. I don't know. And Nancy Drew was my first experience of that, and I really loved these games as a kid, and I just feel very attached to them, even though I know that they like, cannot be good games. I mean, they just can't be, right? Like, they're point and click, they're mystery games. I know, like, I'm so tempted, if they're like $6 on Steam, I'm so tempted to go back and buy the first one and play it, and I know I won't enjoy it because they're like very similar to Grim Fandango, and I didn't really enjoy Grim Fandango very much when I played that for the show. but I'm tempted because I have such an attachment. I wonder if these would be games that it would be better if I just left them in my mind as what they were.
I mean, they're marketed towards kids, so yes, I think so. Because of course you're not going to enjoy them now. Which, you know, it's hard to remove yourself from the place you are in time now, but I feel like sometimes we decide how good a game is based on how much adults enjoy it, even if it's marketed towards kids. Like, you know, like Pixar movies. You know, it's like, these movies are great because they're also for adults. It's like, okay, sure, okay, whatever. But, you know, things can be good even if they're for kids, just like probably still wouldn't enjoy it.
I know. Apparently, though, there's a pretty active community of people who have loved the games forever and still love them and that sort of thing. Let's Players. How weird is that they're Nancy Drew, like, Let's Play?
Are they really Nancy Drew Let's Players?
Apparently, yeah.
I mean, I guess there are, you know, like, Barbie dress-up Let's Players. I shouldn't be surprised that there's Nancy Drew Let's Players.
It just surprised me that there is still an active community sort of around, not, you know, not like crazy active or anything, but an active community of people around these games that I associate with, like, 2006.
I mean, they put out, like, 2 a year.
I know.
Since 2001, so.
I know. You're right, of course. But yeah, other things that I remember from these games. How useless is Nancy's boyfriend, Ned Nickerson? Do you remember Ned Nickerson at all?
From the one where you're in the snowy place.
Yeah.
That's the only one I remember him from.
Yeah, that's the one I was just saying, and you were like, I have no memory of that one. The snowy one.
Isn't that Blackmore Manor, though?
No. It's the fourth one. I've already forgotten the title because they're all...
Treasure in the Royal Tower? That's not the snowy one.
Yes,
it's definitely a manor or mansion.
Yes, it is. I'm looking at the image. There is snow around it.
Okay, I'm probably thinking of a different snowy one.
Fine, that's fair. That's whatever. I won't even. Yeah, Ned Nickerson always being like, I come home, Nancy, come home. And I'm like...
The one where you take the snowmobile around. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, I think that might be a different one entirely.
Oh, well.
Who knows? We'll figure it out someday. Yeah, Ned is just like... It's a great subversion of typical gender tropes, because Ned is useless, and Nancy's like, I'm too busy for you. Also, apparently the clothes that she always has in her suitcase are like a meme.
Or a meme?
Not like a meme, but like an inside joke. It's like she always has this really ugly horse sweater and like mom jeans in her suitcase.
Do they just use the same graphic for every game?
It's now, I mean, basically, it's now become like an inside joke. Like they've referenced it in game. At some point, there's like a letter of Nancy's mom being like, I don't know why you still wear that horse sweater. Everyone laughs at you.
Nancy can wear what she wants to wear.
Yeah. There's also, in the greatest crossover event of our time, in the one where they're on the train, the Hardy Boys are there.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Right? How exciting was that?
That's very exciting. Although, I never really read the Hardy Boys.
Oh, me either. It doesn't matter, though. They're iconic. Second only to the great Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, like, I want to go back and look at the models. So I remember being like, oh, like, they made them, like, cute. But, like, almost certainly they were blocky and horrible.
I don't even remember models in the game.
You talked to people, so they were there. I don't really remember them either. I just watched the video, like, trailers for games that we definitely did play. And the models are really bad. And it stuns me that that did not make any kind of impression on me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just because, well, for me at least, all I remember is the scary parts. So, like, I guess the models weren't scary to me.
Then Nancy
I remember, like, climbing down a ladder and falling. Honestly, Nancy Drew was, like, first-person adventure Uncharted.
Nancy Drew Uncharted. I was gonna say, though, because you made a joke about it literally being a first-person shooter, which it is in that one game. But a Nancy Drew first-person shooter would sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. Yeah, it would.
Like, don't tell me it wouldn't, because it would. Oh man, these games are gonna go so well together this week. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a mashup that someone is actually gonna make in 2 years, and we can sue for intellectual property.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, games like Nancy Drew, they're important, right? Like, now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, man, I should buy it so that next time I'm in Philly, I can share it with Mini Team Talk This.
Oh, don't traumatize them.
Well, we probably won't get to the end of the game. Melena will like it.
It's not even at the end of the game, though. There's the one in the museum where you get shoved down the stairs.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
is that Scarlet Hand?
Isn't that the one where at the end you get, like, shut inside some kind of a tomb and you have to get out fast enough for you suffocate?
Yes! That one was scary. I think that's Scarlet Hand.
That is Scarlet Hand. So Scarlet Hand must not be the gun one. That must be a different one.
The gun one is Deception Island.
Okay. Oh, you are right about that. Yeah. Oh, man. These games, they're so important, though. Otherwise, you have to have these, like, weird in-between games that, like, you forget about them until you go back and you're really thinking about them. But they're important because otherwise you've got 9-year-olds and they're playing Halo, and that's, like, sort of fine, but also no.
I don't know. Just because they don't have Nancy Drew doesn't mean they're playing Halo, Madelyn.
Well, I don't mean Nancy Drew. I mean these kind of, like, mid-tier games that they're not so boring that the parent can't sit with you and watch and help when you can't figure out the puzzle, but you can play them on your own. I don't know. I don't think those kind of, like, mid-range games targeted at age 10 children get enough credits. So any closing thoughts on Nancy Drew?
Everybody should play one, apparently.
I don't mean now. I just mean everyone's kid sister or daughter or cousin or son or brother. I don't mean to be like only girls can enjoy Nancy Drew, but I think this game is particularly important for young women. Who knows? I'm an empowered adult woman. Maybe some of that is thanks to Nancy Drew. I now feel confident if I was locked in a museum tomb, I would die.
I feel confident
I would probably die about 3 times and then figure out how to do it.
Because that's how life works.
Exactly. So, speaking of dying...
I guess so, yeah.
It brings us to our new game for this episode, which is Sea of Thieves.
Yes. Sea of Thieves belongs to the rare, exclusive, elusive genre of games called the Xbox exclusive, even though it's also on PC. But, you know, it's Microsoft, whatever.
Microsoft exclusive.
Yes. So Sea of Thieves is a Microsoft exclusive, meaning that we personally haven't played it. But I probably also would not play it, even if it was on PlayStation, because the main draw of Sea of Thieves is that it's sort of a sandbox, only it's a sea box. Very funny. And you take on the role of a pirate, and you can either sail solo, or with a crew of people you pick, or with a crew of random people online to, like, complete missions. So it's it's an updating game, meaning that there's new content a lot.
They just rolled out some new stuff a couple weeks ago.
Yes, they just rolled out some new stuff. So when it first came out, the general consensus was like, well, the water looks great. Because there was not a ton to do, but slowly as the year, and I guess it's only been a couple of months, honestly.
Yeah, it came out in March.
It came out in March. But they've been adding stuff slowly to the game since its release.
Yeah, and it's developed by Rare.
Yes.
Which is a pretty storied history of game development, although they haven't done much of interest in the past 10 years. They have the one that has the Suki Kablooey, like the weird, whatever the crappy...
What?
They have like a Koopy Kablooey, which is apparently a series that people care about. It's not called...
Kooky Kablooey?
It's not Koopy. It's something stupid. Not stupid. It's something like kind of weird like that. Yeah, they made Perfect Dark, they made GoldenEye 007.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, but we did talk about Perfect Dark before, which they made.
Yeah.
And they also made Conker's Bad Fur Day, which I've also heard of.
Yeah, and they worked with Nintendo on the NES a lot, and then they got bought out by Microsoft, which is why this is a Microsoft exclusive game.
Although Battletoads is coming back, isn't it?
I don't know, but they also made Battletoads, notorious for being like one of the hardest games ever, despite being named Battletoads.
Yeah. It's local co-op, though.
All about it. Love me some local co-op.
But I think they announced, like, very tiny trailer at the Microsoft one at E3 that they're gonna do Battletoads again. So Rare, I guess, has been roaring back onto the scene, slowly.
Sort of.
Yeah.
If Sea of Thieves can be called roaring back.
Honestly, we talked about this, last week? No, when we were talking about, like, Fallout Online, right? In that, like, when you're doing something like massive multiplayer, honestly, like, you don't want a huge player base. So, honestly, it wasn't a terrible idea to release Sea of Thieves so bare bones, because then it lets people trickle off and maybe come back later, but you get, like, the dedicated base that actually enjoys playing it.
Yeah, and that's something that's been interesting in my reading about this game. So when it was released as part of Xbox's like subscription program, and so you could buy the game for $60, or you could subscribe to this like basically game rental thing that Xbox does, and like try it for a month for $10. Yeah, which a lot of people did, and apparently it seems like that contributed to a really rocky start for the game. People just like couldn't get onto the server, and they had to boot people and like shut down the game for like 3 hours at a time to try to upgrade capacity. And so it had this like really, really rocky rollout, and then on top of that, people were kind of disappointed because there wasn't a ton of content. So all that would really happen is like people were just like murdering each other left and right. There's a lot of player versus player combat, which is still a part of the game, of course. But there was like nothing but that. There was no one ever really negotiated with their fellow players. It was just a lot of murder, which was pretty repetitive and not super fun for anyone. What I've been interested in reading about the game is how that atmosphere has really changed in the like 5 months now, I guess, since it came out.
Yeah.
I was reading an article on Polygon, which hopefully I'll share this week if I remember to, about someone who was just talking about, I don't know, it just sounded delightful. Like, everyone just playing pirates together, and they obey the rules of parlay now, and they, like, band together to take fortresses. And the part that I liked the best was they were like, yeah, and when you hear people over voice chat, they usually adopt, like, a pirate voice.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of, like, all these, like, mostly adult people playing pirates together over the internet.
I mean, yeah, you want to get that base that actually enjoys the game. I mean, playing a game like Sea of Thieves definitely requires, like, a certain headspace for you to be in. It's honestly kind of like LARPing, only over the internet.
Yeah.
So instead of, you have your character that you talk through as opposed to actually being there in person. But that's like the ideal way to play it. You have friends that you can play with, and you just make your own fun is essentially the real ethos of it.
And as a theatrical professional, I find that kind of appealing. I mean, I don't think I would never have the time to devote to this game for it to be something that was rewarding enough for me in that way to be worth it. Because if you're going to be treating it like it's LARPing or whatever, VARPing, online LARPing,
virtual action role playing.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah. If you're treating it that way, of course, you'd have to devote some time to it, and I probably couldn't do that on a regular enough basis. But I find this idea of people just, like, making stories together kind of, like, silly and appealing in just a delightful, wholesome way.
Yeah. But I think even that, like, and I think that they're rolling out content to address this, but eventually, even as you're LARPing, you run out of things to do.
Sure.
Right? Like, in the beginning, there was literally just, like, you get a mission, you sail out, you, like, find a treasure chest, and then you bring it back. Right? And you can sail around and take down other players, but even that only has a certain amount of, like, permutations. So, like, by having, like, computer-controlled ships in some areas and special quests or whatever, you add variables to it so that you can actually have a longer running kind of story, as opposed to one that would just be small and contained and that people would eventually probably get tired of.
No, definitely. You know, you need a dungeon master for your campaign. There needs to be somebody giving you some kind of big quest, and in this case, hopefully it's rare. They have said in interviews that they have more people working on the game now than when it was in development.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I've also found it interesting, I mean, a couple things. One is, they don't seem to be in any rush to monetize the game. I mean, granted, you know, it's a $60 upfront cost and stuff, but they're still working on it. So unless they're continually attracting new players who are going to pay that $60, you know, that doesn't pay for them to keep working on it, right? Mm-hmm. But they've said over and over again in interviews, they're like, yeah, like, we're going to figure out a way to do it eventually, but it's not the priority right now. And that they really don't, that they are rolling out all these expansions for free because they don't want to segregate players, basically, into people who can pay for it and people who can't. Which is an interesting philosophy, but one that I don't buy for a second.
Well, they're owned by Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
So, being owned by a console developer both gives you limits and freedom, in that they have your back, but they also want to use you for, like, experiments, you know?
Sure. And
so I buy that they will be taking a while to monetize it because they have Microsoft support, and clearly this is a game, because they even tied it to their rental thing, that Microsoft wants to figure out how to make work. This sort of ongoing game, the game as service sort of model. So I think that's probably why they're not in a rush.
Sure. I just mean that they're playing it really cool, and I don't believe for a second there's not a whole team, like, working on how this happens right now. Not that it'll be rolled out right now, but I don't believe that they play it really, really
Sure,
cool.
it's called planning.
Okay, thanks. I just mean specifically, there's not that many Microsoft Xbox exclusive games anymore.
Yeah.
And this game did not get great reviews at first. And while they did have something like 5 million players at some point, I don't think that's been sustained.
Yeah.
And you know that Microsoft wants more money out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's fascinating that they chose, not fascinating, but I'm not sure why they chose to do a $60 upfront purchase as opposed to going for, like, the MMORPG route of the subscription-based, although that's not very popular anymore, or even, like, episode-based, or any other sort of payment model for something that they want to sustain itself, you know?
It'll be interesting to see how it develops. I've seen some comparisons online, which I thought were relatively apt, of this game, in some ways, to No Man's Sky.
Mm-hmm.
In that, not that this game was the kind of, like, oh my god, this was not what I thought I was buying, that No Man's Sky was when it was first released. But there's some similarity in that people were expecting more content out of this game than there was at first, and that now, like, one, the team is working constantly to include updates, which is happening on both of those games.
Yeah.
But also that there's been this kind of weird community, not weird, I don't want to say weird, you should game however you want to game. Perhaps unexpected community vibe that's sprung up around both games. Non-traditional for these massively online games, if you know what I mean.
I don't know why it's non-traditional.
It's just not, I don't know, I think of online games being like World of Warcraft, and you're constantly sort of raising your level, and you're battling monsters, and I know you do some of that, but...
So it's a MMO without the RPG part. You're thinking of MMORPGs as opposed to just, like, MMOs.
Yes, and that's more. I just feel like when I'm thinking of these like the games that are really big online right now, we have like all the classics like World of Warcraft, League of Legends, that kind of thing. Which let's not talk about League of Legends on this episode. Did you read that article?
Nope. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So
there was a big article about Riot Games and their culture of sexism.
They only hire people based on your League of Legends rank.
Yeah, so. Yeah. That's true. That was a big part of it. Anyway, but also I think of like Fortnite and whatever, and I just feel like the communities that have sprung up among these games are very different than that.
Sure, but I mean, online, like, you shouldn't just, like, there are different kinds of online games. Fortnite and Sea of Thieves don't belong to the same genre.
I realize that. I'm just still not as versed in this, and so I'm revealing my not as steeped in this status, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I do not play online games. It is not something that appeals to me. I don't want to put myself in a space where I could, I'm sure that a lot of great relationships come out of online gaming, but also a lot of horrible stuff can happen there, and that's not something I want to deal with, so I don't really play them. But I do think it's interesting to see the communities that have rose out, yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how it continues to develop. It made me think of my pirate bartending days. Those were the days. People just love pirates. Like, adults love to be pirates. That's my final takeaway for this game and my pirate bartending life. Is people like to dress up as pirates and talk like pirates and get pirate tattoos and pretend to be pirates, and everybody wants to be a pirate. So this game will probably do just fine.
My takeaway is that it has pretty revolutionary water and weather systems.
This is how we are very different.
It'll be nice to see that technology get integrated into future games.
Next up, clothes.
Yeah.
So, Emma, thoughts on how to integrate these two games into one super game? I think there's a lot of potential this week.
Well, clearly we cast Nancy Drew as a pirate captain.
100%.
But like a good pirate who goes around, like, taking requests from people and solving mysteries on the high seas.
I feel like that's the game.
Okay, everybody, that's been our
Bye.
episode. See you later. Bye.
Her Interactive, give us a call.
But yeah, she definitely has to be some sort of a pirate captain. Or maybe she's hunting down pirates.
No, I want Nancy Drew to be a pirate.
But maybe she's like a pirate who hunts other pirates. The pirate.
I think she's like the Robin Hood of pirates, yeah. She's making sure that the pirate laws... She's like the sheriff of pirate. I've made her Robin Hood and the sheriff. That's not how that works. Yeah,
she makes sure the pirate code's followed, and she solves the mysteries of pirates that don't follow the code and takes them down, and it turns into a first-person shooter.
And sometimes Ned writes you letters.
Dear Nancy, come home, Nancy.
I'm on the high seas! And yeah.
But no, what is the actual like gameplay and
Well, it's tough. No, both of the games have pretty simple gameplay, actually. It's Nancy and the Hardy Boys, and I feel like she has a friend too, like some girlfriend. We'll invent her if she doesn't already exist. And you're running a boat together, and you're trying to. It's like a big treasure hunting thing. You have to travel all over the world. This is like Borderlands now, but whatever.
It's like Sid Meier's Pirates now.
I was thinking about that about this game. Sid Meier's Pirates is a great game. You dance with the lady and you woo her.
That's the part I remember most too. I just always wanted to dance. It's that old Barbie Team Gymnastics arrow keys coming back for me.
Man, I wonder if that game is on Steam.
Probably.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah, no, you have this team, you're hunting down the biggest treasure that has ever been found, but it's mysterious, right? Like, we think it's connected to some murders, and all the pirates that have gone to look for it previously have vanished. And not only do you need to find the treasure, but because yours have a sense of justice, you have to find out what happened to those pirates. So there's a lot of mysteries within the mystery.
Mysteries within mysteries. Sounds good.
That'll be what it's called.
So what is the child scarring moment for this game? Because there has to be one.
One of the Hardy Boys drowns.
Not that child scarring. Like the tense moment, you know?
One of the Hardy Boys
Not just
almost...
random death of a Hardy Boy.
One of the Hardy Boys almost gets eaten by a shark.
So it's like a timed event, right? You have to like
yeah,
shoot the shark with the cannon.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds properly child traumatizing.
Sorry, I went too dark.
Yeah, I just more meant like the stressful timed events, someone shoving you down the stairs.
Yeah.
Almost suffocating. You know, the less dark stuff.
There'll be a few throughout the game, because there's a lot of kind of mysteries within mysteries, right? Like, this is a long game. This is a 60-hour game.
60-hour game?
Yeah. It's like Persona, really, isn't it? That's
it's Persona every day. New things happen.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, really what I've created is Persona 5 on the high seas, but that's fine.
That is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're, like, going after other pirates
starring Nancy
by
Drew.
being a pirate. Yeah. Honestly, Persona Nancy Drew crossover, I would play that.
Throw Phoenix Wright in there, you got yourself a game.
That is a real game. Nancy Drew Phantom Thieves versus Phoenix Wright.
Ace Attorney.
Ace Attorney.
Now I want a massive MMO, no, just an MMO, which is just like everybody plays as a famous detective. I don't know how it would...
And you're all trying to solve mysteries?
It's like like League of Legends, but it's just everyone's a detective.
That would be a great game, actually, where it's, like, all noir, so you have, like, the narrator, right? But you can, like, interrupt other people's narrators by also getting to that same moment.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys on the high seas, but we also have this detective massively multiplayer online, so we've got a diverse portfolio here at Talk this week.
Yes. We are always coming up with multi-million-dollar ideas here at Talk This, and honestly, you should get in on it as quickly as you can.
We're open to exclusive deals with console partners.
We are. Buy us out, please.
Anyway, Emma, can you get the hat ready while I plug our social media?
You mean the random picker online?
Ugh, no hat anymore?
I've been too lazy. I need to, like, remake the stuff, the little slips, and I'm too lazy to do
Excuses. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Talk This. It's dangerous to podcast alone. We're always happy to have you with us, and we want you to stay updated on everything that we're up to, thinking about, talking about, and such that's video game related, or sort of video game related. So you should follow us on our social media. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Talk This Podcast. We share articles and videos there. We share just our thoughts on things that we're playing. Someday I will figure out how to use Instagram stories and start to do Instagram stories while I play. All that fun stuff. We're also on YouTube, where we're Talk This Sisters. So you should subscribe there. The Play This series is our flagship YouTube series, which Emma posts monthly about gameplay as storytelling. There was one out a couple weeks ago. There'll be one out in a couple weeks, so you'll want to subscribe now. There's also some Flashback Friday episodes, which are 5-minute snippets or greatest hits packages of some of our older episodes, because the back catalog is getting kind of long at this point. And also the Clickbait Boyfriend mini vlogs, which feature Clickbait Boyfriend playing Kingdom Hearts. Speaking of vlogs and blogs, you should check out our website, www.talkthispodcast.com. While you're there, you can see the games that are in our now virtual hat. Read more about us, see all of our links to all of our episodes, and also check out our blog, which features long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend, wherein my boyfriend plays the Kingdom Hearts series. He's on Birth by Sleep now. I'm trying to make it weekly. I've been on it the past 2 weeks. We'll see how that goes. And also Split Screen, which is kind of the weird successor to Watch This, which was a series where we watched shows based on video games. Now we do Split Screen, which is the love child of Watch This and the Off Topic Corner segment on our side quest. So we're watching Boys Over Flowers, which is a K-drama, which, by the way, Clickbait Boyfriend's sister really likes K-dramas, and he told her we were watching Boys Over Flowers, and she was like, that's trash.
Yeah.
Like, they need to watch something better.
We've kind of figured that out by ourselves.
I know, but
it's some good trash.
She's like majoring in Korean and stuff, so she knows.
It's at least recycling.
True, it's recycling. You're right, for the tomato party. And also we're watching My Hero Academia, wherein every week I say, that's it.
Yeah.
So check those out. There's also other blog series. We have Buzz This, where we take quizzes. We have X Thoughts in X Hours. And there's little like episode guides on the blog, so you should check that out. You should also, I'm running out of breath, guys. Whew, we're everywhere. We're also, if you're liking the podcast, well, why don't you subscribe? That way you'll never miss an episode. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts /Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, all of the other ones.
Yes.
So check us out there and subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff.
Tell your friends.
Post about us. Tweet at us. Instagram us. Slide into those DMs.
Yeah.
Tell us your favorite Nancy Drew game that you played as a kid.
Yeah.
And Emma, let's pick those games.
All right. So, first, for our old game, can I get a drum roll, please? Wow. Okay. Assassin's Creed.
Oh, dang.
We haven't done Assassin's Creed yet, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe I'll play some. I bought it for
Sounds
$3.
familiar, but maybe it's just because you bought some. That might be why it sounds familiar.
Yeah, I bought 2 of them
and we
for
saw
$5 total.
We saw the talk from the guy.
At Games for Change.
Games for Change, yeah. Okay, so old game, Assassin's Creed. New game, another drum roll, please. Hellblade.
I've heard of both of these this week, which is encouraging.
Well, Hellblade was also at Games for Change.
That would do it.
Well, it was nominated. I don't think anybody from Hellblade spoke, but...
Already I have a mashup. The assassin has a Hellblade.
Wow, Madelyn. How'd you think of that?
That's the episode. So tune in next week for our side quest episode, where we'll discuss what we've been playing, answer some questions that we've come up with, recap our blog, and generally just have a good time. And tune in 2 weeks for a special Roman edition of Talk This.
Where's the first Assassin's Creed set? Oh, you're right. I got it now.
Wherein I am definitely recording the podcast on Sunday on my vacation, like I do. But we'll look out for that. Look out for stuff on our blog this Monday and Tuesday. And Emma, send them off. Send them off with a smile.
I hope that your sea is full of nice people.
Nancy's. Come on.